You're listening to RetRead Podcast. I'm Anna.
I'm Serge, and we're here to talk about books we've read.
Hope you enjoy. Hey there, RetReaders.
Hello, welcome back to another exciting episode of RetRead Podcast. We're back now after a long hiatus, and glad to be back.
Life got in the way, work got in the way, but, we've actually read this book last year, I think, and it's just been a really long 2019.
This book being Double Date, I believe.
Yes, Fear Street Double Date, but before we talk about Fear Street, Serge actually has a trilogy he wants to review.
Uncharacteristically for me, I actually read an entire sci-fi fantasy trilogy in the last month. I know, surprising, right? And this was something we got from the publisher because we expressed interest in it.
What is the book series?
This is the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin, and we first heard about it when we went to last year's book expo, where there was a panel discussion about the new classics of science fiction and fantasy, and it was co-paneled by N.K. Jemisin and Ann Leckie. They were introduced as being basically the new IT authors for fantasy and science fiction. And I'd heard of Ann Leckie before, but just listening to the two of them talk and just the conversation they had during that panel discussion made me really interested in getting into their work. N.K. Jemisin's The Broken Earth trilogy, which has just come out over the last few years, won actually 3 consecutive Hugo Awards, which is, I think, unprecedented, right? No other author has gotten 3 Hugos in a row year after year for a trilogy of books like that.
Well, what's interesting is I didn't look it up, so I'll just say sure. Why not?
I don't know for sure, but it seems like a pretty great feat to have achieved. Let's just get into my review of these books.
What's the first book in the trilogy?
The first book is called The Fifth Season, and it kind of lays out the whole premise and introduces most, if not all, of the characters that you're going to follow throughout the rest of the book.
If you're a fan of the Science Friday podcast from WNYC, that was their book of the month for their book of the month club for the month of January of 2019.
Yeah, and it's a great book. I gave it 5 stars. I couldn't put it down. So the first thing that I really liked about it is the writing style. N.K. Jemisin has a very, very approachable writing style. For me, the English is very much the same modern kind of dialect that I speak. It hasn't been, altered in any way. There's a different way that people write.
It's not like Tolkien?
Well, yeah, it's certainly not like Tolkien, but there's a novel English almost that people, I don't want to call out MFA programs for generating a specific style, but it almost feels like they do.
What MFA program written book have you read?
Okay, well, I don't know.
I feel like you're just quoting something that she said in the panel and just spitting it back out.
No, that's not what happened.
What you're saying is it's more contemporary?
It's a contemporary English, but it's also very, very creative. In the way that it's written. If somebody spoke like that in conversation, you would think they were some kind of genius. It's very witty. That immediately makes the book very approachable. It's got a unique way of telling the story where a large portion of the book is written in the second person. You kind of begin to wonder, okay, why is this done this way? As you progress through the trilogy, in the second book...
What is the title of the second book?
And the second book is called The Ovilus Gate. As you get into the Ovilus Gate, you start to wonder more and more, okay, who's actually the narrator of the story? You know who you are, this being a second-person narrative. You are you. Actually, I guess the first book is a lot about figuring out who you are. The second book is a lot about figuring out who the narrator is. And then the third book, which is called Stone Sky, is a lot about figuring out, I guess for me it was about figuring out where or why the narrator is telling you all these things. And I guess in the end, when I read it, it seemed obvious why the narrator of the story would be telling you your life story. And I read it and I was like, oh yeah, I guess that makes sense. So maybe for other people, that won't be the thing that interests them in the third book. There's a lot of other things that are interesting. The world building is on a huge scale. Going back to fantasy and science fiction authors that I've admired in the past, like Tolkien and Asimov, one of my favorite things is the grand scope of the world building and how it creates a history of tens of thousands of years that you can follow. And this book also does that. It's about a 40,000 year span that the story takes place over. But this isn't the Silmarillion we're talking about here. The pacing is very good. The characters are compelling. The writing is absolutely top-notch. And so, yeah, this is probably my favorite science fiction fantasy series as of right now. I gave all 3 books 5 stars. I don't want to get too much into it because I'm afraid I would spoil it, but essentially the book series is set on a planet that has some people living on it, and there's different kinds of people. There's people that are more like us in that they don't have any magical powers, and there are other people that do have some magical power. These people are called orogenes, named after the word orogeny, which in geology means the formation of mountains. And what their power is they can shape tectonic events. So like earthquakes, for instance, they can stop them, they can cause them, volcanic eruptions, so forth. They have control over the earth. This power is very great, and it's also, frightening to the other inhabitants of the land. So they're like horribly ostracized and like enslaved and killed. So that's kind of the setup for it. The main character is an orogene. She's a mother. This is kind of the interesting thing for me as a male reader. I felt like putting it in the second person made her easier to identify with, because as a male that's not even a father, I can't identify with the parenting aspect of it, and I can't identify with being a woman. And on the other hand, when you put it in second person perspective, you put yourself inside the character, it does actually help you relate to that character more than I would have, I think. If you're one of those people that thinks like maybe it's a little bit weird that it's second person, I don't normally read books like this, I think you should give it a chance. I think it is normally kind of a trap that an author can set for themselves, and there's a lot of pitfalls that come with it, but in this case it is executed perfectly, and it actually really fits the story, it fits the narrative. It's actually part of the mystery as you wonder about certain aspects of that second person narration. It raises a lot of questions that actually get you more engaged with the story. Yeah, it was artfully done, perfectly executed. 5 out of 5 stars for all 3 books.
Is it a book that drew you in immediately when you started reading it? Like, does the story just start and you go, oh my god, I need to keep going? Or is it like a slow burn where it doesn't start till like maybe 100 pages in?
It's not really a slow burn, because the interesting thing in the first book is you start out with a bunch of different characters' stories, and then as the book progresses, you get to find out how all those stories relate to each other. And some of them are set in the past, some of them are set in the present, some of them are kind of like maybe set in another like place. And so you kind of try to put it all together.
But all 3 of the books got 5 stars from you?
Yes, they did. And so I was reading a lot of other people's reviews on Goodreads, and it was interesting. There's a pretty good consensus. Most people really like the trilogy, but I saw some people would rate the first book 5 stars, and then the second book they'd give 3 stars, and then the third book they'd give 5 stars. Or then I saw another reviewer that was giving the first 2 books 5 stars, and the last book disappointed them. They gave it like 2 stars or something. And I think that speaks to how each book is different from the other book. I think that's something I touched on in my review a little earlier, is that each book does have its own theme and kind of stands on its own. They're not all part of a single book, essentially, that just got broken up into 3 parts in order to sell more copies. Each one is its own story that has a certain story arc and something driving it that you focus on, and it's written in a slightly different way or perspective or style. You may find yourself liking some of the books more than others, but I think the consensus seems to be that there's something for everybody, and you're going to like at least 2 out of the 3 anyway.
Well, I can't wait to read the trilogy, because you have hyped it up so much, and like I know while you were reading, you're like, you need to read it. But it's like, dude, I'm reading my own books right now, I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's kind of what happens. If you're a fan of epic fantasy, there's plenty of epic stuff going on. I've been calling it fantasy, I've been calling it science fiction fantasy. It's both. There's a lot of fantasy elements like magic, but there's also a lot of science fiction type elements like a advanced technological civilization. So it kind of crosses the boundaries there, and it merges the two into one.
All right, thanks for that review, Serge.
Yeah, no problem.
So after this intermission, we're going to talk about Fear Street Double Date.
Ready for a review of Fear Street Double Date? Yeah, let's just launch right into the prediction accuracy. We'll start with me first. I thought that, this was going to recycle the New Boy storyline, and there would be like a love triangle. So there would be a girl who used to like a boy, and then boy meets and falls in love with a new girl, and the girl who used to be dating him is crazy and a psychopath. So what would result would there be a female murderer, a female murder victim, and the murder weapon would be fire. And upon further examination of the cover, I decided that the sisters would actually be vampire sisters. And,
you didn't even have sisters in your initial prediction.
Yeah.
Anyways, but yes, your prediction was
It
hilariously.
Okay. It was okay. For a while there, I really thought there was going to be a female murderer and a female murder victim. The vampire thing, I guess, was way off.
So my prediction was that there would be a double date of some sort. A new girl moves into town, has fallen in love with a guy that she has seen. He's gorgeous, and she's going to say that he's good looking. And then she's going to try to get a date with him. And she's going to get another girl to go on a double date with him and one of his friends. And then something's going to go wrong. Maybe the wrong pairs like each other, or there'll be a love triangle, or just something. I said the murder weapon would be a knife, and then the murderer and the murder victim would both be, women.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was pretty bad too.
I think the main thing is there was no double date. That's where your prediction goes off the rails. And the love triangle thing, we both predicted love triangle, but there wasn't even really.
We'll get into that. Someone thinks there's a love triangle.
Yeah.
So how I saw the book was a gross excuse for a teenage boy bets his friends that he can date twin sisters at the same time without the other one knowing about it. And then thankfully, things start spiraling out of control for him.
It's pretty disgusting, the premise, and he is pretty much the slimiest boy you've ever met in Shadyside.
What's his name?
Bobby Newkirk, and he is described as having broad shoulders, blonde hair, blue eyes, rich parents. This is another one of those despicable rich people on Fear Street. Basically a toxic, privileged asshole. He's a guitarist in a band for the past 4 months. The band is called Bad to the Bone, and he is more in love with his Fender Strat guitar, which, by the way, is the kind that Jimi Hendrix used. Did you know that?
It's a white Fender Strat, by the way.
Oh, yeah. What did I call it?
Just the Fender Strat.
Oh, yeah.
He makes it well known that it's a white Fender Strat.
Yeah, well, he's more in love with it than he is with anything else other than possibly himself.
His best friend is Arnie, who's the drummer in the band. He's actually mediocre and he can barely keep a beat, which is what you want in a drummer, I guess. He has short red hair, pale blue eyes, a goofy grin, tells bad jokes that no one laughs at, has this pale blonde fuzz on his upper lip with a small rhinestone stud in his ear, and he's actually dating one of Bobby's ex-girlfriends.
And then to round out the band, we have the third member. Paul is the keyboard player, and he is the hardest working member of the band and has actual talent. He's broad-shouldered and athletic, and described as having dark skin with large brown eyes.
Diversity?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah, this is, I think, the third character in this series that may actually be black, but it's never actually outright said so.
Is it the third character that's maybe black, or is it the third character that's not white?
There was a boy
in Lights Out.
In Lights Out. There was the basketball player in Halloween Party, and then there's this guy.
Well, he is not amused by Bobby's antics or by Bobby in general.
Yeah, no, he seems like he
just wants to be in a band with people who can play music, and it just sucks for him that this is the band he's stuck with. You have the Wade twins. They moved to Shadyside the year before, and they actually live on Fear Street.
They're also identical twins.
They have creamy smooth skin, straight black hair that is perfect, round green eyes, high cheekbones, warm natural smiles, and they're both friendly, but they don't have steady boyfriends.
Bree Wade is the shy sister, and Samantha Wade is outgoing and friendly.
And then I think the final new character in this book is Melanie Harris. So she's Bobby's ex. They went out for 3 months. And then they broke up after she found out he was cheating on her with multiple girls. But she's Arnie's current girlfriend. She's described as being a short girl who's a little chunky, with waist-length straight brown hair in a single braid, and beautiful brown eyes and a great smile. And apparently that great smile is the only reason that Bobby wanted to date her. We are also reintroduced to a few girls that we had met previously.
Yeah, so we have Ronnie Mitchell, who we know from the cheerleader saga. Guess what? She's still a cheerleader. She's got red curly hair, freckled cheeks, and a tiny figure.
And then we also have Kimmy Bass from the cheerleader saga with crimped hair and round cheeks.
Yep, we know her, and we know Carrie Taylor from Party Summer.
That was Kari Taylor.
Party Summer!
So we've met the characters. Let's get into the in-depth plot.
Okay, yeah. So the book starts off with Bobby Newkirk pushing Ronnie Mitchell into a locker and forcing a makeout session.
He refuses to make plans with her for after school and also won't agree to calling her and won't let her leave unless she kisses him. It's kind of obnoxious.
Yeah, it's absolutely disgusting. He's basically just forcing himself on this girl, but then at the same time he's not even really interested in her. He's just messing with her. He's bullying her. It's really awful.
He swaggers away from her while thinking about how she's not pretty and that he only asked her out to check all the cheerleaders off his list of girls he's banged.
Yeah, his little internal monologue throughout this book is just
how great he is.
Absolutely disgusting. He bumps into two guys and makes fun of one of them for having an after-school job. He has rich parents, so he doesn't need to work. He talks about how he dumped Carrie Taylor because she accidentally spilled Coke in his car, and he made her walk home after that.
What a nice guy. On his way to band practice, Bobby actually runs into Kimmy Bass.
She's pissed at him because they had a date the previous night and he stood her up.
Because he was out on a date with Ronnie Mitchell.
He told her he got a better offer and tough luck. But hey, you're looking hot right now. Want to bang later?
So Kimmy is understandably pissed. And she heads off to cheerleading practice, basically telling him to go fuck off.
Finally, Bobby ends his little parade of despicableness and ends up at band practice. And they kind of chat while setting up. And Arnie is impressed with Bobby's antics. Paul, on the other hand, finds them less amusing and dryly comments that he's surprised Bobby didn't try dating both Ronnie and Kimmy at the same time.
So the Wade twins come in looking for the music teacher, and Bobby is horny as F.
All he can look at is, how pretty they are or whatever. So when they leave, Bobby decides he'll spread the love and date them both. Because, I guess he got inception the idea that you can date two girls at once.
Well, Paul thinks this is really stupid and disrespectful, and Arnie thinks this is the greatest idea ever.
Yeah, Arnie's just a sycophant, basically, and he'll just go along with whatever Bobby, comes up with.
Yeah, because at one point they have a conversation that Arnie will always get Bobby's leftovers, so he's all for Bobby dating whomever.
Yeah, so speaking of Bobby's leftover, Melanie comes into the room after their band practice, and Bobby reminisces about their time together.
He thinks about how she cried when they broke up, and how dare she cry and try to make him feel bad about him dating other girls and then having to break up with him because of that. What a bitch.
Maybe he'll date her again if she loses a few pounds, and Arnie's done with her. So Melanie warns Bobby to leave the twins alone, but he thinks she's just being jealous.
So after whatever band practice they were able to have, Bobby races out to meet with the twins, and he actually ends up conversing with Bree, the shy one.
They talk a little about the twins wanting to join the chorus, and Bobby asks her to join the band as a female vocalist. She actually recommends Samantha for the job. Bobby then invites her to come to their concert on Friday at the Mill, and she accepts. Twin number 1 checked off the list.
So Arnie and Bobby are hanging out at Bobby's house later, and Arnie cheers Bobby on. Literally, he's like, yes, you can do it. So Bobby calls the Wades to invite Samantha out for Saturday night, because he's going out with Bree on Friday night.
Right, exactly. So Samantha already knows about Bobby's date with Bree for Friday night. So she gets angry and asks him if this is a weird bet, and he denies it, even though it's almost kind of like a weird bet.
Yeah, no one needs to bet Bobby to do anything. He will just do it.
He bet himself. So she asks him if he actually thinks she'd do this to her sister. And he replies that yeah, because who doesn't dream of going out with Bobby? Bobby, Bobby, Bobby.
They agree that they'll meet at the mall on Saturday and then go to the movies. And Arnie and Bobby both wonder why Melanie was so bent out of shape about this. Clearly, it's worked out well and Samantha is okay with this. At this point, you're wondering why Melanie just doesn't dump Arnie.
Yeah, it's weird. Friday night at the Mill, the band is playing. Bobby's all set for his date with Bree. Bobby thinks that their show went super awesome, but he actually pulled the amp cord out and danced around like a freak on the stage and was totally showboating and stealing the show from the rest of the group, and they didn't sound great and it didn't go that well. So Paul was actually not really happy, but Bobby's too self-absorbed to realize that it maybe wasn't the best performance ever.
Well, Bobby and Bree dance, and then Bobby sees Arnie dancing with Melanie. And Bobby's internal monologue is he thinks Melanie looks really fat in what she's wearing and that he hopes that she'll split her shorts.
Yeah, I mean, he can't focus on his date with Bree without thinking disgusting thoughts about other girls, right?
So Bobby takes Bree on a drive around Shadyside and he spends most of the time just talking about himself.
completely self-absorbed, and anytime you get any of his internal monologue is just ridiculous. So we actually find something out about Bobby during this drive as Bree's asking him some questions about himself. Turns out he's got a science experiment. Right now, a lot of the students are doing science projects, and his is a little bit out there. He's actually got 2 monkeys. Yes, monkeys.
Wayne and Garth, named after the Wayne's World characters.
Mm-hmm. And it's an experiment on diet. So Garth is getting a mixed diet, and Wayne is only getting bananas and water. I guess they're trying to, test that old stereotype that monkeys just eat bananas or something. See how that monkey does. If you're wondering where this high school kid got monkeys from, apparently his uncle is like an exotic animal importer for zoos, and I guess was able to kind of sneak in some monkeys for his nephew, which is way out there. The other weird thing is that on the weekends, when school is closed, the science teacher is actually the one that takes the monkeys home. Yo, they're Bobby's monkeys. Why does the science teacher have to take care of the freaking monkeys on the weekends?
Why are they at school? I mean, this is all nitpicks. We can talk about, the ethicalness of this experiment and all that good stuff. But let's just keep going with the plot.
Well, that's a good question, too, because I remember when we did science projects at school, you could have your project at home, right? If you're running an experiment, you're not necessarily going to have the experimental setup in the school building. You could have it in your basement or whatever.
Or why not have it in a place that's properly equipped to store monkeys, that you don't have to, bring them from one place to another every few days? Because the transportation every Friday and every Sunday or Monday is not going to be good for them or healthy for them. And also that will mess with your experiment because you're putting them in different settings and then different people are feeding them and et cetera, et cetera. Actually, anyways.
Yeah, well, hold on. And why is he making the teacher pay for the food for the monkeys for the weekend? What the heck? Or what is the teacher doing to these monkeys on Saturday and Sunday?
So this is both Fear Street Mythos and nitpicks, so let's move on.
Okay. Bree doesn't think it's that weird, and they move on to other topics of conversation. Eventually, Bobby takes Bree home, and they make out in her driveway. Bobby's internal monologue involves thinking about how much Bree must be into him, because he's so good looking.
So it's Saturday night, and it's Bobby's date with Samantha. And Bobby is totally into her, because she has more of a personality than Bree, and she's stoked for Bobby the Man, which is his nickname for himself. Literally, there's points in the book where he just chants Bobby the Man. Bobby the Man. I'm so great. It's so weird.
The best was, there's one part where he dances around saying, I'm the best. I'm the best.
Kid.
Kid has issues. Samantha tells him that he has quite the reputation, and he's shocked that a girl would be so direct to him.
I don't understand how telling someone that they have a reputation is an example of someone being so direct to them.
Well, she should know her place. It's not her place to tell him what she's heard about him.
I mean, wouldn't all the girls telling him that he's an asshole be girls being very direct to him? Or are those just girls being too emotional and not talking sense?
No, they only do that after he breaks up with them. You're not supposed to be like that before he breaks up with them.
Oh, I see. I get it. So Samantha tells him that she'd rather walk around the mall with him than go to the movie.
So they actually end up walking around the different stores, and they end up at the Gold Barn, which is a jewelry store.
Samantha tries on a few earrings. The salespeople are like, excuse me, you can't try on earrings. And they're like, oh, sorry, we're just looking. And then Samantha decides to make things exciting for them.
So she shoplifts. She runs out with a pair of earrings, and Bobby runs after her with another pair in his hands.
Yeah, he was just holding them for her because she was like, oh, I like those. So he picked them up, and then she ran out, and he was like, wait, what's going on? He runs out after her and then realizes he's got earrings in his hands. Oops. They're running around the mall and they're being chased by salespeople, and they make it to the car, actually.
And Samantha is super jubilant, whereas Bobby is kind of terrified, but pretending to be happy because he's like, wait a second, what am I getting myself into here?
Because on the one hand, she's hot and he's horny.
Yep.
But on the other hand, stick your dick in cray.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, he's super horny. That kind of wins out. Now that his reptilian brain has basically told him to shut up and do whatever she demands because he wants some, Samantha decides that she has to be the one driving the car. And he, of course, is now cowed and says yes, so she speeds and weaves through traffic. Kind of just guns it over to River Ridge, which, as we know, is the makeout spot.
Yeah, he's gripping the seat and he's pleading with her to slow down and be careful because she's literally almost about to kill them several times.
Yeah, Bobby the man is, like, about to soil himself here.
And then they make out for a while, because that's what you do at River Ridge.
So after they make out, Samantha actually warns Bobby about her sister Bree. There's actually more to her than meets the eye. She's not really who Bobby thinks she is.
So at school a few days later, Bobby sees Kimmy Bass walk by, and he does the really mature thing of tugging at her hair to get her attention.
Yeah,
like,
what is he, like 5?
Yeah, this is what kids do in elementary school. Like, I've had my hair tugged, and it was only by little kids in elementary school. That is not a thing that adults or teenagers do.
He then insults her, gets her upset, and decides that she must be in love with him. Because, you know, he's Bobby the man. Why wouldn't she be in love with him?
Why not, indeed?
Right, and then he continues on to band practice, because, you know, you gotta, like, get in, like, at least one little bit of sexual abuse before every band practice.
Well, there's some drama in band because Paul wants to quit. He doesn't think the other two take it seriously, and Bobby thinks it's because Paul's just jealous of him. So Bobby's going to entice Paul to stay by pretending to make him band leader and letting him feel like the big man. Because in his opinion, you just need to feel like a big man to, like, do anything. That's all that matters, is to feel like a man. To feel like you're in charge. Like, it doesn't matter, like, if things are good or things are bad. You just need to feel like you're a man. Melanie confronts Bobby during band practice about dating both twins at once. So apparently, in the interim between that date and this band practice, Bobby and Samantha had a study date. Bree showed up during the study date, and while Bobby was distracting Bree at the front door, Samantha was sneaking out the back door. And the whole school knows about this, and they are talking about it. So Melanie actually warns Bobby that he's gonna tear up this family when Bree finds out. And he's just like, don't care, hide sucks.
Later in the day, Bobby's back at home, and he's wondering to himself, which one of the 2 girls would he rather dump? And which one would he keep? At this point, Arnie actually prank calls him, and then they talk about Bobby's predicament, about being in a relationship with 2 hot girls who are totally into him. What a predicament to be in, thinks Bobby to himself. Arnie tells him that Melanie's really upset about it because of female solidarity.
So their phone call is interrupted by Bree showing up at Bobby's house. Because apparently, Bree is really upset about Samantha sneaking around and possibly dating someone, but she won't tell Bree anything. And this is the first time in their twinship that Samantha is keeping secrets.
Yeah, and, you know, she's doing the normal kind of girlfriend thing, like, hey, you know, I'm gonna go talk to my boyfriend for some emotional support. I've got something going on in my life with my twin sister. It's this weird thing. Is there anything, you know, you just want to talk to your SO about it and see if you can talk it out and see if there's, like, anything they can do. So Bobby promises that he's gonna, you know, ask around the school, try to find out who Samantha's dating.
A real Prince Charming here. Look at him.
Freaking jackass. So after Bree leaves, this is the part right here. Bobby struts around the house chanting, "Who's the greatest? Who's the greatest? Who's the greatest?"
Okay, listeners, I want you to just get up from wherever you're sitting, you know, whatever you're doing, and I want you to just strut. Get your strut on. Are you guys strutting? And now just chant, "Who's the greatest? Who's the greatest?" while you're strutting. And just do it for a while.
Doesn't it feel great to be Bobby? This freaking guy.
So the phone rings, and it's Samantha calling.
Samantha tells Bobby that he needs to break up with Bree. She's tired of sharing Bobby. And Bree is a very suspicious person, and she's starting to go over the edge. She's a fragile person, too. And as she warned him before, you know, he doesn't really know who Bree is. If she breaks, and she will, due to the aforementioned fragility, Bree could do anything.
So we have another Samantha-Bobby date, and once again, Samantha's behind the wheel. And she's driving Bobby's car like a maniac, changing lanes, running lights, going too fast, and generally freaking Bobby and everyone else on the road out.
Understandably, Bobby is not a fan of this, and can't decide if his horniness is more important than his safety. This reminds me of that Futurama meme, the death by Snoo Snoo. I think his horniness wins out in the end, though.
So, at the pizza place, finally, they eat pizza and talk about things. For instance, Bobby taking Bree to a party at Suki Thomas's.
They also talk about Bobby's science experiments with the weird monkeys. Bobby also wants to talk about how he wants to replace the guys in his band because Arnie and Paul just can't keep up with him. So they go to the mall, and Samantha I guess she was really into that last time when they shoplifted from the jewelry store. So she wants to, I guess, recreate the buzz. And she dares Bobby to steal a silver charm bracelet from a jewelry store.
Bobby successfully shoplifts this charm bracelet, and they're very proud of themselves. But then, all of a sudden, they're caught by Bree.
Samantha's terrified. What if Bree finds out? Bree is angry, and Bobby is desperately trying to think up some excuse.
Well, his brilliant excuse is that Bobby and Samantha just bumped into each other at the mall. Bobby thought he had just bumped into Bree, because they're identical twins. How would he know?
Yep, and Samantha decided that, hey, I got nothing to do. I'm just gonna go shopping. Turns out that Bree also had to come to the mall to do some shopping. Bobby hopes that they can make it a threesome, but the twins just go off together and ignore him.
Is it considered a double date if it's a threesome?
No.
Someone is double dating,
A
right?
double date is 4 people, right?
Well, it can be one person dating 2 people. Isn't that also a double date?
No.
Oh, okay.
That's a menage a trois.
Isn't that only sexual?
I'm sure Bobby wants it to be.
Ooh. So Bobby thinks about how he can't get enough of the 2 of them. Not because they kiss him so needily, not because of how they look or how they held him, not even how they both seem to really like him. You know, a lot of girls are totally into him, so it can't be that. No, it's because there's 2 of them, and he's got them both. He'll be known as Bobby the Man for years to come. Maybe they'll even have a special trophy in the trophy case of Shadyside High for his accomplishment. Bobby the Man. He dated twins.
At once.
Wow.
I don't think anyone actually calls him Bobby the Man except for his own, internal monologue. So Bobby's date at the mall is over, and he kind of dejectedly walks back to find his car in the parking lot. But what do you know? The tires are slashed.
Too bad.
Yeah, what a tragedy, right? Turns out that Melanie just happens to be in the area, and she offers him a ride.
Bobby is certain that Melanie was pretending, and that was her that slashed the tires. She must be jealous of the twins. But then again, girls aren't strong enough to cut tires that deeply, and girls don't even know how to handle knives. Please.
Yeah, so, right, it obviously can't be Melanie. It must just be a random thing. Anyway, he doesn't seem too hung up about it.
Wait, but how are we supposed to cook for him in the kitchen if we don't know how to handle knives?
Oh, snap. Well, no, that's what the servants are for, right? This guy's rich. So, Monday at school, Bobby sees Bree headed to the auditorium, but collides with Samantha on the way to go see her. Samantha's upset. He still seems to be interested in Bree, and she thought they already discussed this. He needs to break up with her. They go to the science labs, and Samantha shows Bobby how to tell the twins apart. Samantha has a butterfly tattoo on her left shoulder, and she kind of shows it to him in the darkened science lab. Ooh, sexy.
Samantha then tells Bobby that he needs to dump Bree. She says that he needs to do it for his own good because, once again, trying to knock that point home, he doesn't know what Bree can do. Bree is capable of doing things that he is just not aware of.
Yeah, she's been really building Bree up. At this point in the book, I'm really thinking oh, I was totally right. This is just like the new boy. You know, Bree's like that psycho girl with a messed up past, and she's gonna snap and go nuts, and she's gonna try to murder Samantha, and I totally knew it. Because right now, in this part of the book, it's oh yeah, my prediction accuracy seemed like it was right on point, but we'll see what happens, right? Samantha then takes a look at Bobby's 2 monkeys who are there at the science lab, and Samantha shows Bobby her experiment, which is also involving animals. Apparently, there's this new kind of ant that was just discovered called New Zealand cannibal ants. She's feeding these ants mice, and they can eat 20 times their weight every day. And so, yeah, there's a jar of ants there. She shows them. She's like, yep, this is it. You've never heard of them. It's because they're brand new.
My science experiment for a reason. So it's Friday. It's the talent show that the band has been practicing for. So the band always gets a new name every few weeks. So their new name, the Desperados.
Yeah, how fitting.
They come on right after the gymnast. So Kimmy Bass is actually just standing there giving Bobby death glare.
Whatever, Bobby doesn't care. Right as they get on stage and they're setting everything up, Bobby strums his guitar, and right in front of everybody, the whole school's there, he's electrocuted by his amplifier. Yep, the amp wire was cut, and he got shocked because the amp wasn't properly grounded or whatever. Who knows? There's a whole explanation to it. And yeah, he gets basically knocked on his ass.
So later that night, he's on the phone with Samantha, and Bobby asks if it could have been Bree. Did she find out about what was going on, and did she snap?
And Samantha's like, well, Bree's capable of anything. Weren't you listening to anything I told you?
No. I think the answer is no, he wasn't.
Right, but like right as he's talking to Samantha about Bree and how like, do you think she's crazy and snapped and try to like electrocute me? Bobby looks up. Remember, he's in his room right now. Bree is literally right there standing in his room, and who knows how long she's been standing there. Did she hear the entire conversation?
Well, he's not too bothered by it because he just started making out, and that's the end of the chapter. Good writing, R.L. Stine. Thank you for that.
Yeah, Bobby, the man, I don't know. This is like a completely messed up version of masculinity here that is just...
I think it's a version of masculinity that we actually see, but whatever.
Sadly, yeah.
Later that week or that day or whenever, probably the next day, they're at the corner. He's hanging out with Arnie and Melanie. Some other kids from the school are actually there, and they make fun of Bobby for being electrocuted at the talent show. So that kind of tells you, like, how Bobby is viewed by the other students in the school.
He's not really one of the most popular guys. He's kind of a joke. I wonder if that's like a recent development because kids are starting to catch on to like what a slimeball he is, or if he was always kind of a joke and what's the deal with that. Turns out people don't really like him right now. Is the bottom line. Melanie warns Bobby again about dating the twins. She tells him that she's known them since elementary school. Her parents were actually friends with their parents, and their moms went to college together, and they go way back. And, you know, she doesn't want to see them hurt, and reminds Bobby that his tires were slashed and his amp cord was cut, and who the hell knows what's going on, and, you know, he better watch out. Bobby grabs her and accuses her of doing both of those things. Then, he decides she must want him back. He invites her to talk about it somewhere private.
And Melanie rightfully calls him gross. And he says that he was just trying to make her feel better. And he doesn't actually want her. She's disgusting. And then he leaves.
Isn't Arnie, like, right there, too?
Arnie went to go, like, to the bathroom or something at this point.
What a freaking sicko. He meets up with Samantha a few blocks from the Wade house. I guess later that night. Whatever, they make out for a while. And then he realizes she doesn't have the tattoo. And she just, like, explained to him earlier that, like, if I have the tattoo, then I'm Samantha. And that's how you tell us apart. So he's like, wait a second, shit, am I, like...
You're Bree.
Yeah.
And she's really confused. Excuse me? I already told you that Bree is out with my mom. I'm Samantha. How dare you not be able to tell us apart? And what tattoo are you talking about? My dad would kill me if I ever got a tattoo. Stop talking nonsense.
At this point, he just apologizes to her and takes her home.
What can you do at that point?
He's really confused now.
So at school the next day, he goes to his locker, and on his locker, there's a sign or a thing that says, "This is you inside." He opens the locker, and inside, it's covered in dark red blood and a monkey head.
Oh no, is it Wayne? No?
JK. It's just a toy monkey head.
Yeah, but Bobby is sufficiently freaked out that he's gonna do, like, nothing. He's not gonna do anything. Like, this guy is on a one-track path.
What can you really do once you find that? Like,
I don't know, you can, like...
You don't really connect the dots that that's because, like, you were dating twins, you know? Like, that is a weird dot to try to connect, I do think.
I don't know, like, a lot of stuff's been happening, and Melanie basically, like, spelled it out for him already. If he really thinks it's Melanie, maybe he should just report it to the school authorities or something.
Saturday afternoon.
Samantha invites Bobby out for a talk. She drives him to a spot outside of town, out in the woods. She's actually still upset about him mixing her up with Bree. It's gone on too long and it's too confusing. She decides there's only one solution.
What is it?
They have to kill Bree.
Well, I think that's really messed up, but Bobby just sort of goes with it.
He gets to make out with her, and I don't know, maybe he's gonna, like, get his rocks off on, like, murdering one sister while banging the other one. Who knows?
Well, just as they're making out, Bobby sees the tattoo.
So now he's, like, super confused because was Bree pretending to be Samantha the other day? And, like, what's going on? And he's freaking out. Which one's Bree? Which one's Samantha?
Bobby has decided that Samantha is totally crazy. She wants to kill her sister. She must be the one that did all the stuff to kill him. He needs to go back to town and warn Bree because abort mission. This is just insane. But Samantha wants to take him to her special place in the woods.
Hold on, what is he going to warn Bree about? I mean, if he thinks this is Samantha, that means Bree was pretending to be Samantha the night before. But if that was Samantha, then Bree has the tattoo, and she's pretending to kill Bree, but it's really killing Samantha. So either way, like, they're both messed up, right? Like, he needs to think this through.
Well, the easy thing to do is this. Go to the Wade house with the twin that he's dropping off.
Yeah.
See the other twin there, and then just be like, you guys need to figure this out.
Yeah.
I'm done. Have a parent there or something. Be like, this is not normal. You guys need to talk about it as a family, and I'm letting you know, Mother Wade, and maybe bang her because like he seems like he'd bang anything with a vagina. Vulva and all that. So
don't post that on Twitter. You might get somebody really upset about the difference.
Oh my god. There are ways to handle this. It is a horrible situation that he got himself into, actually.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, he doesn't take a moment to sit down logically by process of elimination, try to figure out who's crazy and who isn't. He just kind of just goes with whoever he happens to be with, even though he's not entirely sure which one it is, ever. From now on, like, from this point onwards, he's never quite sure which of the twins he's with. His mind has been completely fucked over.
Well,
but he's kind of okay with it. That's the weird thing.
That's because they arrive in the secret place, or their special place, which is a family cabin in the woods. It's their secret hideaway, and the two of them end up making out for a while. So as long as you end up making out, who cares?
Bobby calls Bree as soon as he gets home to try to warn her, but she blows him off since they have company over and says that she'll talk to him when they're going out on their date later that night. On the way to their date, Bobby warns Bree of what's going on. Guys are in the car driving there.
Bree is shook, and then she confesses to Bobby that she and Samantha aren't twins.
Yeah, they actually are triplets, and their identical triplet is called Jenny Lynn.
Jenny Lynn is very dangerous. She was sent to live with their aunt and uncle on the West Coast. She was just jealous of the other two and never wanted to share. Therapy just wouldn't help. So when they were 13, Jenny Lynn locked the other two downstairs and started a fire. As all parents do when one child tries to kill their siblings, they just sent the child away to an aunt and uncle. Because that is what you do.
Yeah.
With attempted murder.
So at first I was like, oh no, they're both crazy, so it's not what I thought. But now that they brought back Jenny Lynn, the third triplet with like a pyromania thing, I was convinced. I was like, yes, my prediction's definitely going to come true. Jenny Lynn's going to try to like burn the sisters alive. Slam dunk, 100% accuracy. Like I was going to be back, baby. I was going to be Serge the Man.
Were you strutting? Did you just throw the book up and just start strutting?
I was strutting. I was like, my prediction's the best. My prediction's the best.
And you know how you tell Jenny Lynn apart from the other two?
Let me guess, it's tattoo.
Yes.
Ah.
This conversation obviously puts the kibosh on their date, and they just call it a night.
So wait, did Bobby actually confess to Bree that he was like double dating her sister?
He just said that Samantha has issues.
Well, anyway, Bobby decides that he's a bit tired of Bree. She's hot and good at making out, but she's just too needy. He also thinks her family is just too much.
That is a bit of drama, I think. So Bobby drives over to Arnie's to gossip about the third sister. Just as he gets there, Arnie and Melanie are headed out to the movies, and Bobby confronts Melanie about the third sister.
Melanie is very hesitant and just says that she, can neither confirm nor deny.
She wants to be respectful to her friends. Like, this is their family situation. They've kept it secret for this long. It's not up to me what I tell you or what you know about it.
Sure. I mean, it certainly wouldn't do for this to get spread around the school, right? I mean, that would be terrible.
So the next day, Bobby is hanging out with Samantha because, listen, I'm tired of them, but...
She wants to know why Bree came home so early from their date, and Bobby lets her know that he knows about Jenny Lynn. Samantha says there is no sister called Jenny Lynn. There's something wrong with Bree. When she was younger, she used to make up horrible fantasies about a third sister called Jenny Lynn. Whenever Bree talks about Jenny Lynn, that means she's on the edge. Samantha says they have to rush home and deal with Bree right away.
Bobby demands to see Samantha's tattoo, and Samantha says that she doesn't have one. She says that Bobby hallucinated whatever happened in the science lab. Like, she doesn't have a tattoo. She's made it perfectly clear to him. There's no tattoo. My parents don't allow tattoos. Why do you keep asking me about this?
Yeah, that's the weird thing too, right? Because Bree tells him that Jenny Lynn has the tattoo, doesn't she?
Yes.
So whatever. Anyway.
So Bobby drops Samantha off, and then he just goes home to continue to be super confused about what's going on. He's just like, I don't know what's going on.
He's pretty dumb. He gets a call from Jenny Lynn telling him that she saw him with Bree. She gets angry when he corrects her and tells her it was Samantha. She wants to know when they're going to kill Bree.
So the next day, Bobby is desperately trying to get in contact with Samantha. She shows up in her parents' convertible and then drives them to the cabin. He sees the tattoo on her shoulder and absolutely just freaks out. He asks her why she didn't have it yesterday.
Samantha tells him that she didn't see him yesterday. She's always had that tattoo, and that's why she showed him at the science lab, remember?
He's super confused. He's just getting more and more confused.
He asks her if she was the one that wants to kill Bree. I don't know which of the three you are. Are you the one that wants to kill Bree? Tell me what I need to do right now to bang you, and I'll just do that.
Don't care, had sex.
Yeah, right? I mean, like, is there a point where he's, like, strutting around, like, three at once?
Might as well be.
Triple trophy. The triple crown, right?
So they get to the cabin, and just as he's about to, like, go in, Samantha knocks him out with an empty Coke bottle.
Yeah.
Or is it Samantha? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's Bree. He regains consciousness to find that he's been tied down to a chair.
He's stripped down to a t-shirt and boxers.
She reveals to him that she's not Samantha. She's actually Jenny Lynn. Surprise, surprise.
How dare her sisters try to erase her from their family? She's the bad one, the dangerous one, the one they sent away, but she is real. She is here. There is proof right now that she is here.
Jenny Lynn burns Bobby's clothing as he begs to be set free. She pours honey on him and then releases the New Zealand cannibal red ants onto him. Jenny Lynn then leaves and lets the ants have their way with him.
So after a bit, Bobby manages to untie himself and he just runs out of the cabin. And a short distance down the dirt road, he sees headlights coming up and, oh my god, is it Jenny Lynn again?
No, maybe it's Samantha. Who knows?
It's Melanie.
She was actually with Samantha and Bree when they found out the family car was missing. Melanie remembers that Jenny Lynn liked the family cabin, so Melanie raced up to confirm her suspicions.
They decided to go to the Ward house first to warn Samantha and Bree about Jenny Lynn.
You gotta do the right thing and warn them about, like, their possible impending sexy demise.
As they get to the Ward house, they see the convertible on the driveway and they're just panicking.
Oh my god!
Bobby races to the front door, opens the door, runs in, he sees the light on in the living room. He
half
races
naked
into the living room. He's like half naked. He had to take off his shirt.
He's
There's just
covered
honey
in honey and
like
ants.
dirt and everything, and he's a mess. And he's like runs into the living room and he's just screaming, "Oh my god, Jenny Lynn's out! Jenny Lynn's here! You need to watch out!"
What does he find in the living room?
A group of people.
It's Samantha and Bree are there, but so's Kimmy, and then there's Ronnie too, and several other of his exes.
And then Mr. Ward walks in, and he's just confused as to the state of this teenage boy. Why is there a half-naked teenage boy in my living room? Yeah, why is there,
like, a lost boy in the room wearing nothing but, like, honey and dirt? Bobby informs him urgently that Jenny Lynn is in the house, and they're all in danger.
Mr. Ward is confused. Who's Jenny Lynn? There is no third sister. What are you talking about?
Bobby's like, well, yeah, Jenny Lynn dumped cannibal ants on me back at your family's cabin.
And Mr. Ward says, there's no such thing as cannibal ants, and we don't own a cabin.
Bobby looks at Melanie and asks her to back him up, like, you know what I'm talking about, right?
You're just there. And she says, yeah, I have no clue what you're talking about. I've been here the entire time.
Bobby's getting more frantic. He says one of the girls drove him, the one with the tattoo.
And Mr. Ward says neither of his daughters have a driver's license, and then he checks their shoulders for a tattoo, and neither have a tattoo.
Which is, thank goodness, because he would be really, really cross with them if they did.
Well, he's already getting a little cross. He is tired of this boy just screaming nonsense at him, and he's just like, go clean yourself up, stop dripping honey on my floor.
Are you drunk?
Calm down.
Bobby is like just rambling in a fit of rage, incoherent, and just like completely having an utter meltdown.
You did this to me, Bobby shrieked as soon as Mr. Wade had left. You did it! You found out I was dating you both. You cooked this all up. You and Melanie. The twins gazed at each other innocently. We've been home all night with our friends, Bobby. We haven't been out for a minute. Melanie climbed up to her feet. I warned you. This is what you get for the way you treated Bree and Samantha, and for the way you treated all of us. You're not Bobby the man. You're Bobby the total pig. The girls in the room, the ones Bobby had dated and dumped, burst into loud cheers and applause. Dating both Wade girls was the last straw, Kimmy said angrily. That's when we got the idea to pay you back, Ronnie added. Hope you liked your surprise party, Melanie cut in, unable to hold back a gleeful laugh. This is the best party I've ever been to, another girl exclaimed. Nice outfit, Bobby, someone else remarked. Everyone laughed some more. You mean you don't like me? Bobby cried in disbelief. His question was greeted by gales of scornful laughter. Bobby started to protest, but he realized there was no use. Defeated, he turned and slumped out of the room, their laughter ringing in his ears.
The story finally ends with the band broken up. The twins give Bobby a note that says, twin sisters don't have secrets. We both knew everything from the very start. Bye! And a small temporary tattoo of a butterfly.
The end.
That was quite the ending. I honestly didn't see it coming. I was like really doing the Surge the Man strut, like, yes. And then, boom, out of left field. It's almost like a Quentin Tarantino-esque revenge ending there.
Fear Street Mythos.
Right, so this book, it had brought back some characters, and it was calling back to the new boy, which I think is where we started formulating our whole idea of how new kids that come in to the area get this like shock dose of the blue clay mineral and start to really act out in weird ways. And I thought, okay, maybe it was getting in that direction. We didn't really see any of that. It ended up being a revenge plot to teach a boy a lesson that his parents should have taught him a long time ago, but privilege of wealth allowed him to continue being like an outer jackass for the majority of his life up to this point.
Well, I think one thing that our Fear Street Mythos thing has always talked about was that it was always people who were on the precipice that were more affected by whatever the Fear Street dosage of the clay mineral or in the water would bring them. But because the Wade twins were so close and they were basically a unit, they weren't affected.
Sure.
There was no Sarah fear evil spirit or whatever that would bring the demise to one of them, and therefore because they were strong as a unit that they would not be susceptible to whatever happened. But one thing that I did think that the mythos could talk about was his science experiment involving monkeys.
There's one approach to this where you can look at something like Halloween Party, where we did have a science experiment that was based on probably like almost on the verge of discovering part of the cause for the strange animals that were often sighted in the Fear Street woods. You know, we've had reports of giant gerbils and bear-like creatures, and of course we know the whole area is stalked by strange dogs, but this really smart kid was doing some experiments on that kind of thing, and he ended up getting murdered in the house during the Halloween party, and we thought that, you know, that was kind of staged by the corporation in order to get rid of a potential thorn in their side. Now we have another animal experiment here, but this one's a diet experiment. One of the monkeys getting bananas and tap water, and the other one's getting a mixed diet. And I'm wondering, like, there could be something here where maybe bananas plus the tap water versus mixed diet plus the tap water gives you a different susceptibility to the blue mineral content in the water that we know is there. Something about the potassium, I'm not sure.
Well, first of all, monkeys don't eat bananas in the wild. First of all, like, as an experiment in itself, it's a crappy experiment.
Right.
Like, monkeys do not eat bananas in the wild. Actually, bananas are like dessert treats for monkeys, even when they're in captivity. And a lot of zoos are actually no longer feeding their monkeys bananas because it's so calorie dense and it's so sugary and it's actually just like bad for their teeth because monkeys don't brush their teeth. So it's actually like not really a thing to give monkeys bananas. So I can't actually see this like being a legitimate experiment because this is actually like seriously detrimental to a monkey. And it seems like it's longer than a 1 week experiment. It seems like it's a multi-week experiment, maybe like a month long, several month long. This monkey would be dead. And I think like they just wanted a reason to have these monkeys in the school, and then, you know, the corporation was just doing their own experiments with the monkeys, with the water.
Well, no, that's the thing though. Like, why would the corporation be doing an experiment on just 2 monkeys? Because presumably they know better than to have such a small sample size, which isn't really going to tell you anything. You know, the only way this experiment could even yield any kind of usable result, even marginally usable, would be if the monkeys were twin monkeys. Otherwise, there's just too many other factors that you'd have to, like, consider, and then you'd really need more than 2 monkeys. You need to have a large control group and a large banana group.
They don't need to be doing an experiment on the monkeys in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean?
The real
like,
question is, like, what's the teacher doing to the monkeys over the weekends, right? You know, the teachers always told us not to monkey around, but here we have the teacher taking the monkeys home on Saturday and Sunday.
I mean, I do think, like, they're doing something with the monkeys. I mean, didn't we have one of the things for the cult was the monkey skull with, like, the things in the eye sockets, right?
Interesting.
So maybe the monkeys have always just been a symbol of the cult.
Yeah, I mean,
and they are like the mascots for the cult more than anything.
Maybe his uncle is actually involved with a much larger monkey trafficking scheme. He just needed, like, to get these 2 monkeys off his hands for a few weeks because they were hot. You know, the police were looking for him, and maybe the FBI.
Why would you traffic your monkeys if the FBI were after them to a place that was, like, literally just raided by the FBI?
You gotta hide them in plain sight, you know, it's the last thing they'd expect.
It's like a Merry and Pippin situation here?
Exactly.
Okay.
They're taking the monkeys to Isengard.
I mean, I guess there is something to the whole, like, just giving them water plus banana and seeing the effect with the potassium. Or, like, the problem is, like, it's not pure potassium. It's like there's other things in bananas. Like,
Yeah,
it's
like
just
sugar.
Yes. I mean, you could do an easier control experiment with, like, the school lunches with, like, different classes.
Maybe they already are. Maybe the monkeys are controlling for the lunches. Like, maybe the monkeys are, like, there to see how the effects of the monkeys are different than the effects on the students.
Maybe they're GMOing bananas in Shadyside because, like, you know how we're going to run out of bananas because of the blight? So they're trying to figure out bananas that can survive the blight. And that's an actual experiment. I mean, listen, you need an industry in every town, and why not have a banana industry in Shadyside?
A banana in every garage.
To be honest, there's not that much mythos. We are very much stretching it. Like, the only weird thing was, like, why are there these two monkeys in this high school? And, like, why are they locked in this random, like, he didn't even describe the cage they're in. Is this even a humane thing that's being done in this high school? Like, I don't know.
No, probably not.
Why is it going home with the teacher? The only thing I could think of is, like, it has to be the corporation doing something, because this is not.
Yeah, well, either that or this teacher's gone rogue.
Since we're on this monkey experiment, I'm just gonna go into nitpicks
Monkey
very
business.
early. Because, like, I've never done animal experiments. I've only done human research. All the things I had to take, like all those classes and like things on the computer and all those like certificates you need to have. It's all based on like human experiments. But I have taken a look at the animal experiment, things. Nothing that he did or said, and nothing about his experiment would like pass muster in any university or any scientific research.
We're talking about Bobby, right?
Yeah.
Well, he's an idiot.
Right, but what school would allow this to happen?
No, yeah, I guess so. No, but what I'm saying is, like, if his experiment sucks, which it blatantly sucks, it's understandable because he's an idiot. And this could just be, like, another thing to let you know that he is an utter tool and has, like, no idea what's going on.
But, like, why would the teacher allow such a ridiculous experiment to be going on? And such, like, one, you have the humanity issue with how you're treating the monkeys.
Okay.
I.e., like, you're giving one a diet that is not a monkey's diet in the first place.
First of all, like, so I have the answer for this, right?
A crappy science teacher?
No, well, yeah. Well, the science teacher with loose morals. He's always had, like, a thing for monkeys, right? And this is his one shot, okay?
Are we talking about, like, a fetish? Or are we talking about, like, an experimental fetish? Or just, like, a general,
you know what? Let's leave it at that and just move on.
Are the monkeys his Wade twins? Is that what we're talking about?
That's the mirror storyline that we just don't get to see in the book.
Oh my god.
So we got some callbacks here. A lot of returning characters coming back. We already mentioned
Ronnie, Kimmy, Kari.
Yep.
We also got Suki Thomas, David Metcalf, and Corey Brooks.
Corey Brooks, who I don't think he's dating
Lisa,
yeah. That hasn't been a thing for a while now.
Well, they broke up a few books back, but David's the one that makes fun of Bobby for being electrocuted.
90s things.
Well, the monkeys are Wayne and Garth.
So that's a Wayne's World reference, which was a popular movie in the 90s.
Still a popular movie. They just had the two actors for Wayne and Garth present at the Oscars.
Oh, okay.
So,
I thought they didn't have a host at this Oscar.
Yeah, so they had like a bunch of actors come in and present the different things. Which is what they usually do anyway, so I don't even know. But the point is, another thing was when they're running through the mall, they list like the stores. And one of the stores they listed was Wadden Books. Now, Wadden Books I know was around, like, they actually went bankrupt and closed in 2011. But, like, when you think a mall, you think stores like Wadden Books or KB Toys. And, like...
I remember KB Toys.
I loved KB Toys.
That used to be the shit back in the day. You'd be bugging your parents, can I go to KB Toys, please? Remember that?
And then I liked Spencer's.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Spencer's always had, like, cool, like, weird shit. It was like a little curiosity shop. You could, like, just browse around and look at little oddities and little knickknacks.
I think the big glaring, like, lack of social media is really big in this story. It'd be all over the net, no?
Yeah, this would be like a cyberbullying book.
Would he be cyberbullying the girls and, like, fat-shaming them and stuff?
Probably.
Or would they be, like, cyberbullying him?
He's so freaking awful.
Or would they be catfishing him? Would that be the thing?
I don't know, but it would definitely be, like, a cyber thing for sure. Can we just...
talk about the book?
Yeah, I want to, like, talk about what a despicable character this guy is.
He's very despicable, but, like, people will read this and be like, oh, guys aren't like this. People keep talking about toxic masculinity, and there's a lot of, like, denial about toxic males out there. Bobby does that obnoxious thing where he, like, negs people. where he just starts like saying like shitty things about them to them, or like thinks them. You know, this is like actually a thing that happens. And like if you're a guy listening to this and you're thinking like, I don't do that, my friends don't do that, what a horrible thing to say about guys, is not true. Like, it's really great that you're part of a group and like friends with people that aren't toxic assholes, but just know that like people like Bobby actually exist, and women actually have to deal with that, and it's really obnoxious and tiring when we have to like say, no, they exist, we're not making it up, it's not Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny, they're real.
It's very easy to find out for yourself, right? You if you're listening to us on YouTube right now, you can very easily search for any number of videos which are basically just instruction manuals on how to do pretty much what Bobby's doing in order to like score dates.
Yes, pickup artists and negging.
That's actually like a strategy, I guess, that they think works. The other thing is that in terms of the whole like catcalling thing and like harassment in general, I think The Daily Show did a really nice thing on that once.
Jessica Williams just walks around the city with a camera.
If you ever, said to yourself, oh yeah, no, the catcalling's not a thing. I don't know any guys that do that. That's not really a problem. All they did was they sent one of their female correspondents around New York City. It didn't take long for them to get plenty of footage of like guys shouting out like, hey there, sexy. Or
like guys creepily following. That's like the really horrifying one. Like,
I've been followed, and I can tell you it's not comfortable. You don't like you immediately know someone's following you. You just know it. And like, especially when they do that like furtive thing where they like glance away as soon as you see them looking, but then like a minute later, there they are again. They furtively like glance away again. It's like, you just want to get away from there. Like, even if they're not even threatening. Like, I got followed by like a little kid once. It was a really non-threatening situation, but like,
was it in China?
Yeah, I was so annoyed. I just like escaped. I ran out of that store. I couldn't take it anymore. I can't even imagine if, you're being followed by somebody like twice your size. So anyway, yeah, this guy's despicable. Good on R.L. Stine to kind of like shine a light on this.
Well, also, I think another good thing R.L. Stine did was by having Arnie, showing that like, by having that support system that he kind of did with Arnie, by having someone that was sycophantically just like cheering him on with all his like, his enabling him. If you have a friend that's like Bobby, don't be Arnie. By cheering this person on, giving them your tacit approval, even if you don't approve, that's still kind of a shitty thing.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Bobby's such a psychopath at this point. He's got this one friend that supports him and goes along with this, but Bobby, take a deep breath and take a look at yourself right now. If you have just one friend...
And then how his internal thoughts of Arnie was basically...
He was shitting on Arnie.
Yeah, I was like, oh, Arnie is just like, he just wants my leftovers. He's not good enough to get anything on his own. Like, he just thinks I'm so cool. And if, like, you think of your friend as just someone who thinks you're cool...
You're one friend.
Yeah.
You're like, one and only friend in this entire world, and you're too good for him. That is like a sad, lonely, pathetic existence, and he needs to like wake up and realize.
Do you remember the friend from The Dare? The really good friend that brought like soup and all that, just doing it? Like, that's a good friend.
Yep.
And I think R.L. Stine did do a good job, because like people like Bobby, if you don't have someone enabling you, you don't have someone like cheering you on like that, you can't actually like sustain, what Bobby was doing. I think R.L. Stine actually did do a good job with that.
Well, you have to realize that society isn't made up of a bunch of individuals who are just like either acting badly or acting good. That's a very simplistic worldview. You can't just say like, oh, well, Bobby's a bad guy. Actually, you have to look at the norms that society puts in place. These are kind of like the paths that you can follow, right? These are the little guidelines that are like the little bumpers around the gutter that keep you from veering off of the acceptable behavior in society. And so the fact that Bobby can so easily go down this path actually should inform us that there's maybe something wrong with our society and the rules that we've set up that allow people to do this. Because nobody just is born one day and decides that I'm going to be evil and just go down this path. Society shapes us to do the things that we do, and we actually conform to a lot of societal norms. He's not doing this in a vacuum, so that's something we should be aware of.
Well, it's like the whole thing where you tell little girls, like, oh, is he being mean to you? That means he likes you. This dude legit just, like, yanks on a girl's braid to get her attention. If you tell people from a very young age, oh yeah, little girls know they're being liked if you treat them like shit. Like, well, obviously as someone gets older, that sort of thing is just, like, instilled in them.
It's definitely like there's a lot of room for thought coming off of this book. Mostly thought about what a total shithead Bobby is.
I also thought that having so many of his ex-girlfriends be characters that we met before gave it a bigger impact.
Mm.
And I think it was, like, important to, like, have known these girls in other contexts aside from being Bobby's ex-girlfriend. Because, usually, like, his characters are so paper thin. And, like, if you just see them as Bobby's exes and little, like, oh, they're cheerleaders who were Bobby's exes, maybe they just deserve that. We saw them in the context, 2 of them in the cheerleader saga. They went through some shit there, and they were like, Kimmy, at least, was like a well-rounded character. You knew enough about her to know she generally doesn't take shit. She generally is like a strong-willed person, and to have her be sucked into Bobby's thing and then be like treated like shit, like you genuinely, without having to have them be well-written here, already know enough to be like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
The point is, like, it's important to have these characters that were, like, at least semi-well-rounded, at least created outside of the context of just Bobby.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was definitely, like, a good way to grow outside of the 150-page format that he's in, which doesn't allow for a lot of character development, especially the way he writes, which is just a lot of filler, a lot of buses. Really doesn't leave a lot of room to develop a character. But if you bring somebody on that's been in a 3-book series prior to this and you already kind of know, yeah, that goes a long way.
I also want to talk about juxtaposing someone like Bobby versus someone like, was it Gary? And also Suki, where the other two, Suki and is it Gary?
Yeah.
They're seen as like...
Gary Brandt, right?
Gary Brandt. They're seen as like, Gary Brandt's seen as like the man whore, and Suki is like the girl that gets around, and they have reputations. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's really important to distinguish between what they do and what their reputations are, which is like based on the puritanical values that our society has anyways, and versus what Bobby does. Like, Bobby genuinely treats the people he's with like garbage, and he has like these views of them that are really, really heinous, and he's actually like very toxic towards them. Mm-hmm. He doesn't treat them like people, he treats them as prizes or trophies and things to be like tossed away. Whereas Suki and Gary, while they both get around and date, there's nothing that you see in any of the things, because everything you see about Suki and Gary is from like another point of view. There's nothing necessarily negative about them, like, oh, they're so disgusting, they treat people like crap. It's just, they date a lot of people. But like, you never get the feeling from that they treat people like garbage. It's just like, they date and then they're tired and they date someone else and they just go around and date people.
And they're generally like well-liked.
Right.
Like, they're popular, they have a lot of friends. Sometimes people, like, a little bit talk behind their backs, but not, like, to a great deal.
Well, in The Prom Queen, don't they call Suki, like, that type of girl or something like that?
Yeah, sure. Some of the, like, upper echelons of high school social structure will, like, look down on that. But at the end of the day, I think the general school populace is, like, whatever. I mean, she's, like, remember in Canoe Adventure, she was part of a club, and everyone in the club seemed to be fine with her, and that was that.
I mean, there was another instance was, like, I have a reputation, but I don't really care. It's like, I'm just me being me and living my life. It isn't about like, I deserve other people and like, this is my like lot in life that I must conquer everything. It's more like I'm just living my life, and like, it's a good life and it's a fun life. Yeah. And I feel like it's very important, because I think people could read this and like be like, oh, they're all the same, they're all just banging a bunch of people, and I think it's like, no, it's very different.
Yeah, I mean, Gary doesn't even get any shit, I don't think.
I think there was, at one point, he had dated several people in one book, and people are like, oh, he just gets around with so many girls. But no, Suki definitely gets more of it, because there's always more judgment.
But this guy's just, like, purposely mean. Bobby is going out of his way to be mean to his exes and, like, put them down. He just seems to, like, want to date as many girls as possible, just simply out of a desire to have a large tally and no other consideration whatsoever. I don't get it. He defines his sense of self-worth in this really messed up way. You were mentioning it during the review, it's about feeling like a man. That's the most important thing. And to him, feeling like a man is being dominant over women, and that involves having his way with them and then putting them back in their place.
And like, anytime someone tries to talk to him or confront him, it's like, oh, it's because you're totally into me, right?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, toxic male masculinity, the book, and also suburban white privilege. See all that like shoplifting they did with like zero consequences?
Yeah, so that's another thing I want to talk about. First I want to talk about is like, they give him a lot of outs from their whole thing. Like, Melanie tells him over and over again, like, hey, you shouldn't do this. And Samantha keeps saying like, listen, you should break up with Bree. And Bree like does her thing, and Samantha like makes him shoplift and do all this, like almost kills him several times in the car. Like, she doesn't have a driver's license, which explains why she drives like that. They give him so many outs and he never takes any of them. What if at one point he was like, he did say, you know what, I'm dating your sister, I'm sorry. Or if he did like just dump them both at the same time and just got out early.
And then all is forgiven. I guess. I don't know.
Like,
I don't know what their plan was with that. That would have been a little bit, like, unsatisfying as, like, a revenge plot if it didn't go all the way through.
Because they gave him, like, so many, like, eject buttons, you know? And it's like, they were purposely just saying, please stop doing this. We don't want to keep going. But then, like, yeah, you're right. At some point, they're just, like, they're shoplifting. They've shoplifted how many earrings? Was that, like, 2 pairs?
Yeah.
And the bracelet. And then, like, the traffic violations. I hate people who drive unsafely. Like, I hate dangerous drivers. Like, guess what? You are putting both your life and other people's lives on the line. It's not just a fun way to scare this dude.
Yeah, the Wade twins were, like, acting very irresponsibly.
They do call out Samantha on the last page. Yeah, there was some shoplifting we shouldn't have done, and Samantha's like, I couldn't help it.
The Wade twins were not wholly innocent, you know, in all of this. They were, like, acting a little bit, like you just mentioned, all of their crimes. They just basically, like, ran amok through the town and did whatever they pleased.
Like, I'm glad they taught this kid a lesson. I'm not even sure if he learned the lesson.
No,
but,
he
like,
probably didn't.
But, like, the fact that they stole from a store...
Who's going to teach them a lesson? That's the question, right? They better not try stealing from Dalby's.
Oh, that's true. It won't end well for them, will it? I did think they went a little far, but I do see that they were trying to, like, test his boundaries.
The one time they shoplifted and the store clerks were chasing him through the mall and they, like, were running as fast as they could, and they finally got away from the store clerks and they, like, ran, like, right into a security guard, holding their, like, stolen merchandise, out of breath like they'd been running, and he kind of, like, helps to direct them to wherever they're going. I see that, and yet, like, can you imagine if it was, like, some black kids doing that? He would have just, like, questioned them and kept questioning them until the clerks, like, caught up, and then they would have been arrested, and that would have been that.
Well, they wouldn't have gotten away with the second shoplifting. There is a lot of privilege in this book.
It's messed up. He definitely needs to maybe have a book talking about that.
That is not really a thing that they talked about in the 90s, and that's certainly not a thing that R.L. Stine will write about, even now.
Getting away from white privilege, what about the fact that shoplifting is just wrong? Because in this book, I don't get that. In this book, shoplifting is like, oh, kids will be kids. But, you know, who knows what the value of that merchandise is. And the profit margins in those, like, shitty little mall stores aren't that great to begin with.
Well, the last, like, little bit, Bree does tell Samantha, you got a little carried away with the shoplifting.
It's not a part of the book that really stuck with me. That's not, like, the core lesson there that I was, like, carried away with me afterwards. Like, oh, yeah, wow, this was a real tour de force of, like, a lesson about shoplifting. Like, no, that shoplifting was seen as, like, a fun thing on par with...
That's what the cool kids do.
Yeah.
That's what you do to, like, win a girl over.
Yeah, it was just like an adrenaline rush more than anything. It could have been skydiving or something. Like, it didn't matter.
He was writing a book with a very specific purpose. It wasn't necessarily to, like, tell you shoplifting is bad. He's hoping that's a lesson you know already. I think it's one of those things, like, toxic masculinity is a bad thing. It's more talked about in popular culture, and because of the internet and social media, it's talked about online, so everyone knows that toxic masculinity is a thing. That, you know, there's a problem with, like, how males are portrayed, but, like, I feel like back in the 90s, there was a thing about, like, the macho guy who could, like, get all the women he wanted, and there is something about the lesson in this book that, at its time in 1994, was probably, like, really cool to have.
Right.
It's a lesson that, like, I'm glad a teenager would read because this dude is a dick. But, like, I feel like one of the lessons that we learn as children is not to shoplift.
Yeah.
Even if he didn't say, like, oh, shoplifting is bad. For a book written for teenagers, does an author really need to write that? I don't necessarily think so. Like, I think it's just, like, implied they're being bad kids by shoplifting. They're being bad kids by being bad drivers. There's not much out there that's saying, like, listen, you're a shitty person if you treat women like this. You know, R.L. Stine has his issues, but, like, you know, good on him for, like, showing that, like, you know what? It's a really shitty way to treat people.
He's always had, like, strong female characters, and this is, like, a good addition to that series of books where he's got the woman kind of, like, triumphing over the male in the end. I
mean, I feel like that's actually the coolest thing, because sometimes his, like, female characters, I think we call them strong, but it's just because they're a main character and they have to triumph over the bad guys. Sometimes they're just, like, dumb and useless, and they still triumph. It really depends. What made this interesting was, like, the women, like, all banded together. It wasn't the petty bullshit he tends to have. Like, you know, sometimes for something like the prom queen, you have, like, all the women and they'll, like, hate each other and they're, like, trying to sabotage each other and whatever. It'd be, like, women sniping at each other. Like, women, you know, can never band together. Like, this was a book where women banded together and went, fuck toxic masculinity. Fuck this dude. And they, like, work together. And, like, the evil in this book was actually this dude.
And then you have Samantha, who's, like, more of a bad boy than this supposed bad boy.
The Jenny Lynn thing was, like, when I was reading this book, I just remember thinking, like, what is going on? Like, first I was like, okay, so is it Bree that's messing with him? Is it like, the twins are obviously... Then I was like, well, the twins are obviously, like, messing with him and switching off. But then when they introduced Jenny Lynn, I was like, okay.
I was completely thrown for a loop. It was so confusing.
But, like, I would never guess that this would be the thing of the book.
Complete mindfuck.
But this was actually a plot from Riverdale, or Riverdale had an episode that was like all the women banding together and like messing with this dude who treated women like garbage. And I was like, okay, I've seen that episode of Riverdale. I can get behind this.
That's funny. Yeah, R.L. Stein did it first, I guess, right?
I guess.
All right, well, in that case...
How many butterfly tattoos do you give this book?
I'd give it a solid, like, 2 butterfly tattoos out of 5. I thought it was pretty decent.
Really?
Yeah.
I would give it, on my Fear Street scale, a 3 out of 5 butterfly tattoos.
Why not a 4? You seem to be nodding in approval, like this book is, like, pretty decent. On a Fear Street scale...
Okay, but what teenage boy, what person actually goes around strutting? Like, who struts, first of all, alone? Second of all, who struts while going, I'm the best, or I'm the greatest?
I was kind of doing that when I thought my prediction was going to work out, so I don't know.
But you did that because you have read it in the book. Like, no one actually does that, do they?
I got news for you.
You know what? I'll give it a 3.5 rounds to 4 butterflies.
Oh.
I actually really like this whole takedown on toxic masculinity.
There you go.
And I think it's, like, something that we just need more of constantly.
Let's do some predictions for the next book.
So the next book is Fear Street, The Thrill Club. They're dying to join. So I've read this book already, so I'll let you describe the cover.
Cover of this book, we've got 2 girls in funny costumes. I think actually one of the girls might be black, so that's interesting. Are we going to have like our first real like black character that's like a main character? I don't know. They're both afraid. They've got their hands up in a defensive posture and their mouths are open and their eyes are wide open in fear. And right behind them is a ghostly apparition that's coming up out of the Fear Street cemetery. And I can actually make out one of the names on the tombstone. It says Isaac Miller. The ghost of Sarah Fear is going to come back and haunt a bunch of kids who are in like a club that like investigating the occult. So I guess it's like a little ghost club. But what's been happening lately is that members of the club are dying out. And I'm going to say female murderer, female victim, and the murder weapon will be made to look like an accidental death. So I'm going to say maybe like shoved down the stairs or something like that. All right.
So I've already read the book, but before I read the book, I actually wrote a synopsis. And let me tell you, we are so off.
Oh, no.
So I said that it'd be a group of Shadyside kids, and they're part of some thrill-seeking club, but they're, like, dying at their activities. And then I said it'd be a female murderer and a female victim, and it'd be via stabbing.
All right, well, our predictions are now set in stone. Can't change them, even if we know they're wrong.
Wait, but can't they just be, like, temporary tattoos that can be, like, rubbed off?
Nope, that's it.
Oh, darn it.
We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for listening, and thanks for hanging around.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to another thrilling episode of RetRead Podcast.
If you like what you hear, give us a shout out.
If not, let us know why in the comments.
Don't forget to rate, review, comment, share, like, and subscribe.
You can follow us at RetRead Podcast on Twitter and Facebook.
Or send suggestions or fan mail to red.read.podcast@gmail.com.
Until next time.
Peace.